I just say I really, 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 I would love to like this series. I want them to do a good job. I absolutely want these people to
Yeah.
just do something cool.
Yeah, it's not my nature to like wish for something to fail.
I know.
And it's also not actually in my nature to, do a running commentary on a television show. Like I've
No,
never done that before.
no.
So I don't know if it's something that's going to continue, but it kind of caught my interest. And last week was it was bad in interesting ways. So I felt like I just had to chime in on it.
Right.
And so I was looking forward to this week, and it was bad in a different set of interesting ways, and I don't want it to be bad, and it's not all bad. I don't know. Do we want to say things that we like about it first?
The effects are pretty good. Here's the thing, though. Okay, here's the problem that I have with the visuals right now is that, like, when you look at Game of Thrones, right, or visually it had a look to the whole thing that kind of suited the mood. Right now, the look of the Lord of the Rings doesn't suit the mood that they're trying to accomplish, I guess.
Well, what mood are they trying to accomplish? That's kind
I
of
don't know. That's what I'm saying. There's it's so there is no intrigue. There is no real intrigue right now.
No real intrigue, right?
But when you look at it, the viewer watches it. They feel like, oh, this is what Middle Earth looks like, and it does. But it looks like a video game version of the movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
There's some nuance. There's something missing. Okay, let's just put it.
Okay, just from a visual perspective.
Right. It looks good, but it
looks in some senses it looks stunning, but in general it looks kind of cold and antiseptic, and it doesn't have. And maybe this bleeds into like just the characters and the storyline, but it doesn't have that sense of coziness that the Shire that Peter Jackson made has. I'm strictly speaking about the Harfoots. I mean, they're cute in an Ewok-y sense, but there's not this sense of coziness like, hey, I could picture myself just, rolling up a bowl of pipeweed and kicking up my hairy feet and hanging out in this land for a long time because it looks very welcoming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just seems a little bit like.
I mean, they're nomadic, but there's still kind of a. There's not like that strong sense of family bonding that nomads probably should have.
It seems like more. Yeah, just like a little weirder, and kind of it keeps you at arm's length. It's not this warm embrace that I felt in the Shire of the books, and to a certain extent in the Peter Jackson movies. And last week I was saying how I really liked the Harfoots, but I think I'm gonna have to change my opinion. Like, they did a few things that really annoyed me this time around. That whole thing where they're chanting, nobody leaves the trail and nobody walks alone or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they chanted that way too long. And then in the end, they abandoned that rule of thumb by just leaving Nori and her family, like, kind of without a second thought. And I was like, I thought nobody walks alone. Like, there's no solidarity. Yeah. There's no solidarity with these people. And like, when they were kind of logging all the hobbits all the Harfoots that got killed or fell by the wayside. One got eaten or stung by bees, like apparently stung to death by bees, and everyone laughed. Did I imagine that?
No, everyone laughed because he got stung by bees.
Did that seem unusual to you? Like not characteristic of hobbits or
yeah, that was kind of mean. It was kind of like, oh, he fell off and crushed his nuts.
It's like. Whether or not it's funny, it's like it sends a mixed signal from that little jingle that they were chanting where it was like, nobody walks alone. And I'm like, okay, is there solidarity with this group or not? Or are they all kind of all for one and one for all, or is it all every man for themselves?
It's bad writing, but still, I mean, but that on the whole, the writing is bad. It again, like we were talking about this earlier, so I want to bring this up, and we're probably jumping subjects, but it seems like everything is like an accident. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Like or not an accident, but
even more than an accident, like a fluke. And when you have one fluke or an accident, like a happy accident, when it happens once, when it happens once, it's okay. But if there's a series of flukes, like it becomes like, okay, you're starting. I can no longer suspend my disbelief.
The example that I'm going to use for a fluke that happens once, but there's a reason behind it, was in The Hobbit when Gollum dropped the ring and Bilbo found it. What are the odds that Bilbo finds the ring?
Right, like a happy accident.
It's a happy accident, but it's explained later that the suspicion was that the ring had a will of its own. Mm-hmm. Gollum wasn't going anywhere, and it had to get out of Gollum's
cave.
It had to get out of the Misty Mountains, or else it would never get found. So that's like.
So
okay,
it actually wasn't. Go ahead.
That was the reason, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then everything that happened.
Hold on. So in a sense, it wasn't an accident.
No,
it was it was the will of the ring to be found.
The only other thing that might be an accident, or fortuitous in The Hobbit, was Bilbo finding the Arkenstone. You know what I'm talking about?
Right, but he knew it was in there, and I mean
They knew it was in there, but I mean, what are the odds that he finds the Arkenstone in this huge treasure, like hoard?
Right.
Right. And again,
it's a lesser degree of a fluke, because it's like they knew he was in there and he went in there to steal something. Mm-hmm. So lo and behold, hey, he hits the jackpot and he finds what he's looking for.
Yeah.
The flukes in this series are where she's not trying to do something and she just happens upon it. Like,
right.
Like
a few times
where she's like, wait, swimming across the ocean. Mm-hmm. And what are the odds when you're swimming across the ocean of like swimming right up to a raft?
Pretty good, apparently.
I mean, I've actually sailed in some boats across the ocean before.
Dude.
And it's so empty out there. You can look around for miles and miles, and you might see a tanker like 20 miles away.
Yeah, you don't realize how big the damn Pacific Ocean is until you're like in a plane and it takes you 8 hours to get to Hawaii.
Right.
So, whatever it is.
So not only does she run into this random boat, I mean, even to see an empty raft would be a lucky stroke. But she saw an inhabited raft in the middle of the ocean with someone on it that like she's almost fated to meet in the middle of the ocean for no reason.
I know there's I never was like, what is Halbrand doing in the middle of the ocean? Did they ever say that? I went back and watched. I can't figure out like what were they, where were they trying to go? Were they trying to find Numenor?
Maybe they weren't. They didn't explain it.
That's
maybe there'll be this amazing tie-in in season 6.
Right, but knowing how this thing's run, and it's probably like, oh, here's a hidden king that happened to be sailing in the Sundering Seas and happened upon Galadriel at that exact time on a boat.
If he's anyone special other than just a drifter, then the fortuitousness of Galadriel meeting him in the middle of the ocean is just off the charts.
I mean, what are the odds, right? And okay, and the other thing,
and what do they do when they meet? Do they go back to Middle Earth? Do they get spotted by yet another boat that takes her to the one place in the world, just magically, where she can find the information she's looking for, again by accident.
Right. But what's funny is like, oh man, they meet the one person in the middle of the ocean, like the second other person in the middle of the ocean that
can take her to this glorious place called Numenor.
Right. And then you've got and it's Elendil. Wait, so apparently
Fluke A visits Fluke B to take her to Numenor, Fluke C, where it's like that scene. Sorry if I'm jumping ahead.
No, dude, we're jumping.
That scene where he's like, I speak Elvish too, and she's like, oh, that's amazing. Now I don't hate you anymore. Like, it was just really random. Like, she turns on a dime. I can go on and on about the Galadriel character and her problems, but
I'm gonna make it.
Right, she turns on a dime, and then she's like, and he's like, yeah, I there's this great place where I can take you. And she's like, oh, really? And he's like, we go there by horseback. And she's like, horses. And all she wants is like a horseback ride. But where's the passion about finding the information that she's actually out there trying to look for? So it's not, here's the thing to like bring to a close what I was saying. The point is like, she's not actively engaged in seeking out her goals. The whole idea of like having a telos, an ultimate goal, where all the things you're doing is in support of achieving that goal. That's what people like to see when they're watching a show. Like, oh, how is she going to get to where she wants to go by? And she's just like, oh, a horseback ride? Oh, that sounds wonderful. And then the horseback ride, it as fun as it is. Oh, shoot. Hold on. So she's on this horseback ride. So first of all, this scene was slightly strange and it kind of broke immersion. Granted, it's visually beautiful, all the flowing drapery. But
this could be like a Summer's Eve commercial too.
It could be I mean, it's unnecessary. I mean, she's having a good it's all that it's saying is she's liking this horse ride. But then, as a non sequitur to the horse ride, where they go to this place that he's taking her to, a fluke, just by accident, she finds all the information on Sauron that she didn't even know she was looking for.
I know, like, oh, look, it's a map to where Baron-Jor's gonna. It's like, no, Doom, it's right there.
This guy I've never met takes me to this thing I didn't know I wanted, and here it is. Right. It's gonna like, and not only that, but right next to it, among these scrolls that she's never looked at, right, she finds this symbol on Halbrand's necklace. Right, it's like she not only does she find the Sauron information, but she finds this Halbrand information.
Yeah,
both in this scroll room that she was just led to by accident. It just was off the charts levels of flukeness.
For one, to make like the strong woman character, man, she's like, she took they've taken everything that was strong and noble about Galadriel and just kind of flushed it down the toilet, man. And like only the worst, like, perceived tropes of strength is what she's left with.
But it's like another thing, like the attempts to make her seem strong-willed and fiery, they ultimately fail, because she's like, you're gonna let me take your ship, or you call your guards, or I demand you to give me this ship. And then he's like,
I've got a better idea. Here's a horse. What?
I've got a better idea. Horseback ride? Are you kidding me?
What? Horse not get?
What are we waiting for?
I know. Not get off this island? Great. Maybe.
Well, second thought, a horse ride sounds fabulous.
She's like, I'll steal this horse and ride all the way to Middle Earth.
Oh my gosh.
I will gallop across the sundering sea.
Oh gosh.
I'll put floaties on his legs, and then through sheer force of will, I'll make him run. Yeah, dude. And honestly, man, it's like the whole device of like turn it on its side. Like don't they have maps where she's from? I mean, wouldn't they just kind of like wait a minute, look at that. It wasn't I, and now it's a volcano.
It's a mountain.
I was like,
I don't know. Was that clever or not? I don't know.
No, dude. That was like a J.J. Abrams, like the dagger, really? and like when he used the dagger to show the location of the whatever they're looking for in The Rise of Skywalker. It's like, really?
Has that been done before? Okay, yeah. I mean,
no. I mean, no. It was it was like that dumb of a device.
Right.
I'm like, what the crap are you even doing? And again, I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be like this. I don't. I mean, dude, we wrote stories in high school, junior high school, that like had more of a twist than these things do.
Like when you're writing a story, you want to use some economy. So that even when subtle things happen, you can tell some of the story subtly without kind of spelling it out for people. Yeah. And when you see things that happen again accidentally, you feel like, oh, well, there's an opportunity missed to use something as a subtle indicator of something else. For instance, Isildur here, we're introduced to him. He's on his boat, and he's kind of like learning to be basically like a Coast Guard guy, right?
a seaman.
He's learning to be a seaman. And you also get the sense that he's also a daydreamer. Like he's not really serious about being a mariner or whatever, right? So there's this scene right here where you see him kind of staring off into the distance, into the mountains, and he's not really paying attention, right? Mm-hmm. And then someone's like, hey, pay attention. And then he goes back to like paying attention to like working on the rigging and stuff. And then his friend slips, the rigging slips, and like he almost falls overboard, and he doesn't get caught in the rigging. It's kind of odd. He's like holding onto the rigging, to the ropes as he's like flailing overboard, but he manages to hold on.
That guy's got a grip.
Yeah.
Have you ever actually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It was like it would have been more believable if he had his arm twisted and like wrapped in the rigging, and like that would have been scarier and more believable. But to hold on to the rigging and it was stupid. But it was like a miss. But let me give him a writing hint. It was a missed opportunity to connect these things. So what would have been more interesting is if his daydreaming nature was what caused his friend to have that accident. Like he could have been paying attention. He could have been like, oh, I'm supposed to be wrapping this rope around this thing to tie it down, to batten down the hatches or whatever. And oh, I'm not paying attention. I'm looking off into the mountains, into space, and daydreaming. And oh, my inattention to what I'm supposed to be doing, my duty, caused my friend to have this mishap. That's not actually, that would have been like really much more effective, but that's not what happened. It was just two things were next to each other, but there was no causal relationship. Like he was daydreaming, and then he went back to rapping, and then his friend had an accident that was like seemingly for no reason.
Right, and the other thing like,
why?
I know. Well, but the other thing too, another missed opportunity was, again, maybe it's like an old trope, but man, like he reacted quickly, but he grabbed the rope, and like everyone came to help, blah 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 blah, right? Mm-hmm. Like there was no real danger, other than his friend falling in the ocean. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, oh, he's gonna fall in the ocean. It
seems like those kinds of things would be far more interesting if they happened in the middle of a sea battle.
Right. Or like there was something that happened, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, he can't fall in the water because there's or
if they were being attacked,
there's water worms down there.
Right. If they were being attacked by like a big giant sea monster, and in an effort to escape or in an effort to fight the monster, that happened. But for it to happen just like while training, and then nothing came of it, it was so trivial.
And it wasn't like he showed any kind of real bravery. Like he jumped in the water like without any thought to save his friend, like any kind of real loyalty.
Basically, it's bad writing when you just your story is a list of trivial accidents.
Yeah.
Or seemingly trivial accidents.
And stuff that makes people look so stupid. Okay, we're just gonna jump. I'm not even gonna like bother to try to keep like any kind of linear thing. When they're in front of the Queen, Galadriel like being all defiant against the Queen, like it was like so not regal.
Like if you read Tolkien, his dialogue between like leaders, even if they're depraved or whatever, they will contain an air of majesty. And here we're seeing Galadriel and this queen like doing like clapbacks, like saucy replies and stuff.
Again, let me get to the bad writing, or the one where it's like, really, dude, really, where like at the end of this whole thing, this jackass Halbrand goes and hugs Elendil and steals the dagger back, and no one says anything other than, oh look, you got your dagger back. Hey, look, and again. The whole thing like is pointing towards somebody evil, like with that guy, I mean, and again, I still get, because now this is the obvious choice that he would be evil, and they've been doing every obvious thing in the writing that is available. Right. So this is like you know, and because like when you listen to the dialogue, he's like, I found this on a dead man, like the little symbol thing. That I go back to when the hobbits met Aragorn and or Strider at the time in the Prancing Pony. And they're like saying like, well, I think an enemy of the servant, like a servant of the Dark Lord, would look fair and feel foul. And Aragorn was like, where I look foul and feel fair. Is that, you know, well, whatever that is. This guy looks fair but feels foul. I mean, it's kind of the opposite of Aragorn. You know what I'm talking about? And they've got to show what kind of a dumbass Galadriel is, because she's going to be fished in by this guy, and then she's going to be betrayed. And it's like, how could you do this to me? I loved you. Whatever it is, you know. Yeah. Celeborn be damned.
That was another thing, like, they didn't want to chop down that tree.
Well, wasn't that, I mean...
That was so stupid.
That's the hill you're going to die on?
You know what I'm saying? Exactly right. Like, I didn't get that at all. Like, okay, so it's true that elves, it's not an elf's nature to chop down trees, but if someone's like, chop down the tree, you're not going to be like, no, and if you make me, I'll resist until you slice my neck off, or like.
It makes absolutely no sense. It's like, dude, one, they're elves. I mean, again, maybe we're giving like way too much credit to elves, and like, but you like, did you see what Legolas did? He killed a Monocle. I mean, he surfed down a shield in Helm's Deep and shot 10 orcs on the way down. I mean. These people are thousands of years old and they haven't figured out how to fight yet?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
But there was this extremely... when Arondir fought the Warg, did you see that extremely unnecessary like ninja move flip? Like sideways flip that he did? Like, that looked like from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? Do you remember that?
I know. Yeah.
I'm like... First of all, it doesn't even look necessary to do that. Second of all, it looks like not even. It didn't even look right. It looked wrong. Like the trajectory was off or something. Like,
you know what? Like
But why do that?
I don't know, man. Like, here's the thing. I've been training, right? Like fighting. Okay, in real life.
You're like, and even I can beat a war.
But no. What I'm saying is like our coach teaches us like very. Like economy of movement, right? And very like you don't do anything unnecessarily because you leave yourself open to attacks, you know.
And you just get winded if you move too much.
Right. The thing that they're setting up with Celebrimbor is that he knows that he's going to build rings of power. You know what I'm talking about? He knows that he's going to, and Sauron, his hands were all over that. They were all over the rings, like the rings, except for the elves. And that's how he corrupted them. And that's how he got control of all that stuff. And it just makes no sense that a guy that knows that, like, or an elf that knows that he needs to build his forge out of whatever to, because he can't get the fires hot enough, right?
Right.
Would, why would he need somebody else's help? The guy already has a blueprint, unless Celebrimbor is Sauron, and then this guy's a MacGuffin right here. I have no idea, bro.
Think Celebrimbor Sauron?
I'm just saying,
right.
I mean, honestly, I would be way more into that than this bullshit that's going on.
It'd be really cool if Galadriel was Sauron.
Yeah, she didn't realize it. She forgot. It's been wiped from her memory. But I remember now.
Oh, I remember. It was me.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, man, this whole. They didn't base the Rings of Power off of Tolkien at all. They based it off of Queensryche Operation Mindcrime. The orcs are looking for a weapon. They keep alluding to that weapon that they're searching for, right? So it's going to be that sword that kid has, because, I mean, obviously you can see, all that stuff on there. And it's like, it's a total Stormbringer ripoff. You know what I'm talking about?
Or a Lord of the Rings ripoff, and that's the ring.
Yeah, maybe.
That thing the kid had, that little Yeah.
Yeah, the shard, but it seems like it's rebuilding itself. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was weird.
But that's like a total, like the way that it's like sucking the blood. Like they've been reading some Michael Moorcock too, because all of a sudden now it's like, oh, you've got Stormbringer, a black sword with a hilt, a broadsword, and you know,
right.
That's a will of its own. And then they're probably going to melt that down and make that the one ring. And then all of a sudden we've got this weaponized.
Oh, man.
I just came up with that based off of like.
That's actually a good idea. I wonder if that's.
I would do that.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Okay.
It makes sense. Why wouldn't they? I mean, if it has so much power,
it makes sense.
It wouldn't make sense for there to be a rival powerful object. It would make more sense for that object to turn into the object that becomes the new powerful object.
Mom! Dad! It's evil! Don't touch it!